So I'm probably a little bit late to the party. You see, with retro Jordans and YouTube, it feels like you've actually got a pretty small window to post videos and have anyone watch them. It's not because the shoes are bad, but it's because the shoes are actually available in a pretty limited supply that the video itself is only relevant as long as stock is available and whoever's watching can get their hands on it. I've found myself in this situation a lot, where I've probably held onto a shoe for too long, stock becomes so scarce that I choose not to post a video on YouTube. Not today though. These shoes are simply too hot not to post about, and in this video I want to talk about the Air Jordan 13 Obsidian. Get into it. The 13 was a model that I wasn't a huge fan of growing up. It's not because I didn't like it, I just didn't love it. And I needed to be pretty picky about what shoes I would spend my cash on. This probably continued for some time, but last year I caved. I saw a picture being posted on the release of the Hyper Royale 13s and it got me hook, line and sinker. I bought those, and when I got them in hand, I was converted. I actually fell in love with the 13. It was the materials and how they looked on feet that were just spot on for me. That love affair has continued into 2021, and with this guy, the Obsidian, which is the first pair that I've actually been able to get this year. It's not as bad as it sounds though. There's only been 2 colorways released this year in men's sizing, well, in Australia at least. There was the red flints earlier in the year, and then these guys. The red flints sold out pretty quickly. I tried to get a pair through multiple different retailers and I had no luck. These guys were a little bit easier to cop and sizes were available for some time after its release. I would have thought it would have been the other way around, but who knows. Anyway, the 13 itself was released in 1997 for the first time, and 1997 is actually when the Jordan brand broke off from the Nike brand. The distancing between the two brands had been happening for some time before the 13's release. We saw the Nike branding and swoosh being removed from shoes and boxes, but it was official in 1997. And the 13 is a heck of a shoe to bring on a new age for the Jordan brand. Tinker Hatfield, who was still designing the Air Jordan signature shoe at the time, got the inspiration to model the shoe around the black cat when he was observing the way Michael Jordan would play on the court. He likened it to a real stealth-like action who was ready to pounce at any time. And you can see that in the shoe's bottom half, which is meant to represent the paw of the cat. And then we've got this holographic sphere in the heel, which is meant to represent the eye. It also makes sense that the rest of the shoe looks the way it does. Very sleek, very modern as well. In this colorway, the Obsidian, we're getting an upper that is much like many other 13s that you would find. There are two huge tumbled and dimpled leather panels on the medial and lateral sides of the shoe. And in this colorway, they're white. I think the white looks fantastic because those dimples are extra prominent, I guess, and it looks super premium. That white is then contrasted by these obsidian tones around the upper of the shoe. Interestingly though, obsidian isn't this kind of color blue, well, according to Google anyway. If you look up obsidian, it actually says that it's more like a black or a greeny black from memory. But the Jordan brand does what they want and we don't really care. Anyway, you will find obsidian textured leather around the toe box. That leather panel around the toe box doesn't actually wrap the entire way of the toe box, and then you've got it on the top half of the tongue. The other panels in the shoe are done in a obsidian nubuck, and that nubuck's kind of wrapping around the bottom part of the midfoot up into the heel, and on the lateral side of the shoe, which is kind of like the part that would face out if you want, you see this holographic logo, which again is meant to represent the eye of the black cat. The bottom half of the shoe is pretty interesting in that you've got that nubuck material making its way down into the midsole. That's not what we typically see in the midsole. Normally we would see some type of foam or the rubber from the outsole making its way into the midsole. But what works the best in this colorway is the contrast that that obsidian color gives against these pods that are meant to be representative of the panther's paw. It makes it look extra prominent and extra pawish, if that makes sense. Anyway, the outsole itself sees the introduction of powder blue, as it's called on this colorway, but I guess it's a UNC blue, and I am an absolute sucker for this color. I don't know if you can tell. And I really like how selective they've been with introducing this color. Having it around the perimeter of the outsole makes it noticeable when you're wearing the shoe, but it gives that really nice bit of interest that doesn't overpower the sneaker either. Outside of the powder blue, you've got a mix of obsidian and white, and then you've got this holographic logo around the midfoot, rear end midfoot part of the shoe. No complaints, looks awesome, and it works as it should. And there you have it. That is the 13 Obsidian. I love it. I think it hits the nail on the head. The mix of colors are just right, and it gives that really good balance between staying true to what inspired the design with the contrasting colors, but also keeping this really premium feel to it with that white tumbled and dimpled leather panel on either side of the shoe. I'm really interested in your thoughts though. Let me know what you think of the Obsidian or the 13 in general. Leave your comments down below, and until the next video, laters.